Hey fellow Stoics, welcome back to my channel. I don't take this moment lightly. You could be anywhere in the chaos of life, drowning in your own silence, but you chose to be here, and for that, I'm grateful. Because this isn't just another video. This is a lifeline for the ones who've walked through fire without screaming, for the ones who've been left bleeding behind closed doors, yet walked out the next day as if nothing shattered, for the warriors who stood tall when their world crumbled, who swallowed their pain while pretending to be okay, again and again and again. This one's for you. You've been broken in places no one can see. You've been betrayed by the ones you trusted most, blamed for storms you didn't start, punished for boundaries you were brave enough to set. You've carried the weight of silence like armor, laughed in rooms that never saw your scars, and kept waking up when your soul begged for rest. But beneath all that, beneath the numbness, the silence, the fake smiles, there's something ancient burning inside you. A fire. Not the kind that comforts, but the kind that destroys what no longer serves you. And here's the brutal reality, that fire will never ignite fully by waiting for life to be fair. It grows only when you stop begging for peace and start becoming the storm. There is a version of you that this world has never seen. Untouchable, stoic, unshakable, not polite, not apologetic, not soft, but carved from agony and lit by purpose. That version of you isn't born out of comfort. It's forged when life rips you open and you refuse to bleed quietly. And Stoicism, it's not some polished ancient philosophy collecting dust in old books. It's a blade, cold, sharp, ruthless. It slices through victimhood, destroys illusions, and leaves only the truth. You are the master of your mind, not your past, not your trauma, not your pain. Marcus Aurelius, one of the real ones, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Let that hit your bones. You've been giving your power away to people who don't deserve your name in their mouth, to moments that don't deserve another second of your memory. Enough. This isn't about fixing yourself. You're not broken. You're unfinished. And this moment right here, it isn't about healing. It's about choosing. Choosing to stop waiting for someone to come save you and deciding to resurrect your damn self. If you've ever been lied to, ghosted, betrayed, overlooked, underestimated, or left behind like you were nothing, this video is your reckoning. These 8 brutal Stoic laws I'm about to break down won't coddle you. They won't pat you on the back and whisper that it's going to be okay. They'll punch the excuses out of your mouth, drag you out of your self-pity, and hold up a mirror so sharp you won't be able to look away. This isn't inspiration. This is war. A war against everything inside you that's kept you quiet, weak, uncertain. And by the end of this video, if your hands are shaking and your chest is burning, good. That's the fire waking up. So don't skip, don't blink. Every second matters. Because this right here, this is your resurrection. Not as someone desperate for approval, but as someone who's done playing small. You were never meant to survive quietly. You were born to burn brighter than everything that tried to dim you. And when it hits you, when something deep inside finally clicks, I want you to do more than just listen. I want you to rise, like the weapon you were meant to become. Like this video. Subscribe if this stirred your soul. Share it with the one friend who's ready to stop pretending and start reclaiming their fire. And in the comments, don't hold back. Rip your heart open and drop this. I'm done surviving. I'm ready to become unstoppable. Because this isn't just a video. This is the moment your story changes forever. Now, let's get into it. Number 1. Emotions are weapons, not weaknesses. They lied to you. From the moment you learned how to walk through this brutal world, they shoved silence down your throat and called it strength. They saw tears in your eyes and branded you weak. They told you to bury the rage, hide the sadness, fake the smile, and pretend it doesn't hurt. Because real men don't feel, and you believed it. You carried that poison-like armor. You numbed yourself into a ghost, and slowly you forgot what it meant to be human. But Stoicism was never about turning to stone. It was never about shutting off the fire. It was about holding that flame in your hand without burning yourself alive. Don't confuse numbness with control. There's no strength in silence if it comes from fear. There's no honor in hiding what eats you alive. You weren't meant to be hollow. You were meant to feel it all and master it. Pain is not your prison, it's your map. Rage is not your flaw, it's your engine. Emotion is not your enemy, it's your blade. Think of a sword, sharpened to perfection, sleek, gleaming, capable of cutting through anything in its path. But put that blade in the hands of someone blindfolded, someone lost in their fury, drowning in their sorrow, and it turns into chaos. Wild swings, self-inflicted wounds, friendly fire. That's what happens when you don't learn to own your emotions. You swing blindly. You bleed on the people trying to love you. You destroy what you're trying to protect. But now, imagine the same sword gripped by a warrior who sees everything, who's calm, clear, grounded, who knows when to strike and when to wait. That sword becomes a symbol of purpose, precision, power. That's what your emotions can be. Not chaos, but command. Not weakness, but warfare. Anger, when channeled, becomes justice. Sadness, when understood, becomes depth. Fear, when faced, becomes fuel. Emotion isn't something to suppress, it's something to wield. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That line isn't just a quote, it's a lifeline. Life is going to break you. It's going to tear at your soul in ways you never imagined. People will betray you. Death will knock on doors you prayed it wouldn't. Your world will collapse at the worst possible time. But what matters most is what you do after. Do you shut down? Or do you rise, carrying the pain like a torch through the storm? So if you're hurting, feel it. Scream until your lungs go silent. Let the tears hit the ground like gunfire. But when it's over, stand, move. Let the fire inside you become the light that leads you out. That sorrow, use it to carve out empathy. That fury, let it fuel your discipline. That grief, turn it into wisdom that no man can teach. Emotions are not there to control you. They're begging to be guided by you, because the man who owns his emotions, truly owns them, cannot be manipulated, broken, or bent. He becomes unpredictable, unshakable, untouchable. He's not the calm before the storm. He is the storm. Not raging blindly, but moving with force, with control, with intention. And the world has no defense against a man like that. Number 2. Solitude is your rebirth, not your prison. Let them talk. Let them whisper that you've gone distant. Let them assume you're broken, bitter, hiding. That's how small minds interpret silence, through the lens of their own fear. But the truth? You didn't disappear. You withdrew. You didn't run away. You returned to yourself. Because solitude is not a cage, it's a forge. And every second you spend alone is a hammer strike shaping you into something the world no longer recognizes. You gave too much, too often, too blindly. You drained your soul to light up rooms full of people who never even noticed the glow came from you. You watered dead plants. You fed leeches disguised as lovers. You broke your own spine trying to carry those who stabbed you in the back. And now, enough. Now, you go dark. Not as a victim, but as a force. Because your silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. It's the sound of a man removing himself from the noise to rebuild the storm. Solitude is not loneliness, it's surgery. It's peeling back the noise, the lies, the fake smiles, the empty conversations, and getting face to face with the raw, unfiltered version of you. The one who doesn't perform, the one who's not adjusting to make others comfortable, the one who breathes in silence like oxygen. That version of you, that's your rebirth. You don't find him in the party. You don't hear him over the clapping. You meet him in the dead silence when the world thinks you flatlined, but you're actually recalibrating. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." And if you read that as poetry, you missed the warning. That's not romanticism, that's a survival guide. Because if you don't learn how to be alone, truly alone, you will always depend on the noise to define your worth. Crowds are comfort for the lost. Attention is heroin for the hollow. But the man who walks into isolation willingly, who chooses the darkness not because he's scared, but because he hungers for the truth, that man is not escaping life, he's becoming it. Watch what happens when a man stops posting, stops explaining, stops entertaining. When the notifications go quiet, but the discipline grows louder. When the phone is still, but the mind is on fire. When the world stops checking in, and he starts checking within. That's where the power brews. That's where the real war begins. Alone, in the gym. Alone, reading when others are scrolling. Alone, building habits no one claps for. Alone, bleeding in silence, healing in the dark. Because when the lights come back on, he's not the same man. He's colder, he's cleaner, he's unshakable, so vanish, withdraw, turn your phone off, shut the door, cut the rope tying you to chaos. This isn't you going ghost. This is you becoming untouchable. And when they finally hear from you again, it won't be a message, it'll be a roar. Because solitude didn't make you disappear, it made you reborn. Number 3, stop seeking justice from unjust people. You keep rewinding the tape, every lie, every betrayal, every cruel silence, like a broken record stuck on the worst parts of their performance. You sit there, waiting for a miracle, a sign they'll wake up, see the wreckage they left behind, and offer you the apology you deserve. But here's the gut punch nobody tells you. Some people will walk away from the destruction they caused with not a shred of remorse. They'll dust off their hands, play the victim like it's a sacred role, and leave you bleeding in the shadows they created. Justice? Forgiveness? Apologies? Those are fantasies when you're dealing with people who don't even recognize the pain they spread. Stoicism doesn't gamble on hope. It becomes the justice you crave. Marcus Aurelius drilled it into us with brutal clarity. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. This isn't a warm call to forgiveness. It's a cold war cry for freedom. Freedom from the chains you wrapped around yourself by holding on to their lies. Freedom from the endless mental battle where you beg your tormentors for the closure they'll never offer. Every moment you spend waiting, replaying, wishing. They own you. Not because they're powerful, but because you're giving them that power. You owe them nothing, no explanation, no apology, no more chances. Cut the rope. Sever that invisible tether that drags your soul through the mud. Not because you want to hurt them, not because you're petty or spiteful, but because peace, true peace, is heavier than revenge. It's a power they will never understand because they never had it to begin with. When you finally release that weight, something savage awakens inside you. You become untouchable, not because the world suddenly turned fair, not because they suddenly grew a conscience, but because you evolved, you leveled up. You walked so far ahead that their poison can no longer reach you. This law is a declaration. It's a severing of chains. It's a ruthless refusal to bleed for people who never bled for you. You don't get to sit in the wreckage of their betrayal while they live in peace. You don't get to replay the nightmare on repeat, feeding the monster inside you. Instead, you rise. You become the storm they never saw coming, the one they fear because you have taken back everything they tried to steal, your dignity, your strength, your soul. So stop waiting for the apology that will never come. Stop begging for the justice they're incapable of giving. The only justice you need lives inside you. It's in your refusal to be broken by their lies. It's in your choice to walk forward with fire in your veins and ice in your heart. You're not their victim. You're their antidote, the living proof that no injustice can chain a man who refuses to be caged. Number 4. Pain is your teacher, not your destiny. Pain doesn't just happen to you. It doesn't set the terms of your life or write your story in permanent ink. You weren't born to stay broken, shattered into pieces that never fit back together. You weren't designed to wear your scars like chains, dragging the weight of every wound wherever you go. But here's the ugly truth. Pain becomes a prison when you let it define you. When you whisper to yourself, "This is just who I am," or "I'm always the one who gets hurt," you're giving that pain power, more power than it deserves. That broken version of you, that's the shadow cast by fire you never walked away from. But the real you, the true you, that's the man who will rise time and time again from the ashes of his own agony. Pain is not your identity, it's your forge, the fire that hammers you into something unrecognizable, something stronger, something untouchable. You bleed, you scream, you crumble, and yes, you lose sometimes, but every cut, every tear, every heartbreak etched into your flesh was a brutal lesson written in blood. A message from the universe, a brutal whisper that says, "Wake up, learn, grow." Each betrayal was a mirror reflecting not just the cruelty of others, but the depth of your own strength. Every soul-crushing defeat was a stepping stone paving the path to a warrior you never thought you could become. Seneca didn't mince words when he said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." And if that's true, then you're no fragile victim. You're a gladiator in training, forged in the Colosseum of pain. You've stared into darkness so deep most wouldn't dare call it by name. You've carried burdens that would crush others like paper. And yet, here you stand. The raw materials of your suffering have not destroyed you. They've hardened you, sharpened you, prepared you for the war ahead. But surviving pain is only the beginning. The real battle, the real transformation, happens when you stop running from it and start using it. When you stop pretending the scars are weaknesses and realize they are your armor. When the agony, the silence, the emptiness stop being curses and become tools, weapons forged from your darkest nights. That's where the shift takes root. Not when the pain disappears, because it never really does, but when you decide to stop being a prisoner of your pain and instead make it the fuel for your rise. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is the forge where warriors are born. It's the blacksmith hammer that reshapes your soul over and over. And you? You are the weapon being forged in that fire. Cold, deadly, unstoppable. Every wound is a strike of the hammer, every tear a spark lighting the flame inside you. And when the world sees what you've become, untouched, unbreakable, and ruthless. They'll wonder how you survived. But you won't be surprised, because you've learned the secret. Pain isn't your destiny. It's your teacher, and you've graduated with honors. Number 5. Control is power, but not over others, over yourself. Most men are blind, chasing power like it's a trophy to snatch from the hands of others. They want control over outcomes, over women, over how the world paints their image. They believe power is loud, aggressive, a storm that breaks everything in its path. But the Stoic sees through that illusion like a razor through fog. Real power isn't about domination, it's about mastery. Mastery over yourself, over your thoughts, your impulses, your fire. You cannot tame the storm around you. You cannot bend the chaos of the world, but you can control the man who stands in the middle of it. That's the thin line that separates the broken from the bulletproof. Every time you lash out without thought, every time you chase approval, every time you beg or prove yourself, your bleeding soul, piece by piece, handing your power to the puppeteers lurking in the shadows of your mind. That explosion of anger, that desperate chase for control, those are chains disguised as freedom. But when you learn to respond with stillness, with intention, with ice-cold clarity, you don't just stop the bleeding. You snatch your soul back from the jaws of chaos and make it yours again. You reclaim the throne inside your mind, and that is where true power lives. Epictetus wasn't playing when he said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom isn't out there, in the approval of others or the chaos of the world. It lives in the silence you command inside. You want to be unstoppable? Start by conquering the war inside your own head. Dominate your urges. Crush your ego's insatiable hunger to prove, to react, to win battles no one else is fighting. Walk away from the noise without a word. Say less than what you feel. Observe more than you speak. Train harder when every muscle screams for rest. Work when the world has abandoned you to loneliness. Discipline yourself when no one's watching. That's the crucible where monsters are born. Not the monsters who destroy others, but the monsters who build empires inside themselves. Control isn't what you yell, it's what you don't say. It's the cold silence that swallows provocation whole. It's the iron restraint holding back the wildfire in your veins when your blood threatens to boil over. Control is purpose when the world tugs you in 1,000 directions, pulling at your sanity with invisible strings. It's the relentless calm in the eye of the storm, the invisible crown resting heavy on the head of the man who refuses to be broken. Because here's the undeniable truth. The man who controls himself cannot be shattered by anyone, not by lies, not by betrayal, not by chaos. When the outside world rages, he stands solid, unmoving, unshaken, untouchable. That power, raw, ruthless, untamed, belongs to no one else but the one who claims it in the silence inside. Control yourself, and you don't just survive the storm. You become the storm. You become the force that no one can stop, no one can break, and no one can ever truly understand. Number 6. Solitude reveals what distraction hides. You're drowning in noise. Endless parties, the buzzing of texts, scrolling feeds that never stop, constant updates screaming for your attention. It's a war zone out there, an assault on your senses designed to keep you busy, distracted, numb. Because silence is a beast nobody wants to face. Silence screams in ways that music and laughter can't drown out. It forces you to look inside, to confront what you've been running from. The dark corners you buried beneath distractions, the fears, the regrets, the lies you tell yourself. But here's the brutal truth. Silence isn't your enemy. It's your battlefield. And if you run from it, you run from your own damn salvation. The Stoics never begged you to fill the void with noise. They demanded you walk into that silence with open eyes and a sharpened mind. Marcus Aurelius carved it clear in his Meditations. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. You don't need a new city, a new lover, or some shiny distraction to patch the cracks. What you need is to sit alone, really alone, and stare down the raw, unfiltered version of yourself. No filters, no masks, no escapes. Just you, and the relentless truth of your own soul. That's the law. The man who avoids solitude avoids growth. And the one who masters stillness, he becomes a force the world can't touch. Because when you can sit with your own thoughts, when the world fades away and there's no screen, no noise, no hand to hold, you start to see the skeletons in your closet, the weaknesses you ignored, the fears you hid, the lies you told yourself to survive. But here's the savage irony. It's in that brutal honesty where real power hides. When distractions fall away, your true battle begins. And those who fight it, who conquer their own silence, transform from lost souls into kings of their inner kingdom. They stop chasing validation like desperate shadows. They stop reacting to every whisper of chaos like puppets on strings. Instead, they learn to move with purpose, with razor-sharp clarity born from solitude. The world tries to use your loneliness as a weapon, to break you, to turn you into someone desperate, hollow, begging for noise to fill the void. But when solitude becomes your weapon, not your wound, you flip the script entirely. You become untouchable, immune to manipulation, a fortress built on your own silence. And once you claim that throne inside yourself, nothing in the outside world can shake you. You no longer need the noise. You no longer run. You stand still, calm and lethal. Because you learned the wildest, most terrifying secret of all. The greatest danger isn't outside, it's inside. And solitude is the hammer that shatters every weakness hiding in the dark. Number 7. You must let go of who hurt you, or you'll become them. There's a shadow of you still trapped in the ruins they left behind. That version of you clings to every jagged edge of betrayal, every sting of humiliation, every cold moment when they shattered you without so much as a flicker of remorse. And deep inside, a voice whispers that if you harden yourself, become colder, sharper, more ruthless like them, you'll finally be safe. Like armor forged in fire, that coldness will shield you from future pain. But listen closely. This isn't strength. This isn't the steel of a warrior. It's trauma disguised as power, a poison masquerading as protection. Because the second you let their cruelty shape you, you become a reflection of the very monster that hunted you. Epictetus cut through the noise with brutal honesty. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. The fire they lit only burns if you keep feeding it. You cannot keep blaming the world for your rage. You cannot keep punishing innocent people for the crimes of the guilty. There is no honor in becoming the beast you once feared, no glory in turning your heart into a cold, empty tomb just because someone else was merciless. That path leads only to darkness, where bitterness consumes everything, and you lose sight of who you ever were beneath the scars. Letting go doesn't mean they get off the hook. It doesn't mean you forget the war they waged against your soul. It means you refuse to be a prisoner of their hate. You drop the blade they pressed to your throat, not for their sake, but for your own. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the fiercest act of rebellion you'll ever commit. It's the moment you say, I am not your victim. I refuse to carry your poison any longer. You reclaim your mind from the wreckage. You stop rotting from the inside out. Letting go is remembering without letting the memory shackle your spirit. So drop the mask of bitterness. Drop the armor forged by anger. You don't need to become bitter to become strong. You don't have to echo their cruelty to rise. Strength isn't found in revenge or hatred. It's born in the quiet rebellion of the soul that refuses to be broken. You can win without becoming the enemy. You can soar above the ashes, untouchable, whole, unchained. Because the greatest power is to let go, and in that release, become a man no one can break. Number 8. Purpose over pleasure. Every single time. The world is a slick seductress whispering sweet poison in your ear. She wraps you in a velvet cage of comfort, endless scrolling through lifeless screens, shallow hookups that numb the soul, dopamine hits disguised as happiness, and 1,000 tiny distractions designed to keep you soft, distracted, and average. It smiles and tells you, relax, take it easy, you deserve this. But hear the truth buried beneath the lies. It's a trap, a cage built to keep your fire buried deep beneath layers of fleeting pleasure, to keep you from becoming more than a shadow of your potential, to keep you weak. Stoicism screams a war cry that shatters that silence. Purpose, above all else, every damn time. Marcus Aurelius, the warrior philosopher, reminded himself relentlessly, "You exist to serve the common good. What's stopping you from doing what your nature demands?" Those words aren't just a dusty old mantra, they're a call to arms. You were never born to chase fleeting moments of bliss or numb your mind with comfort. You were born to build character, build legacy, build an unbreakable will. You were born to struggle, to lead, to bleed with meaning until every fiber of your being screams in defiance. And that means choosing what's brutal when it's inconvenient. It means skipping the party, shutting off the noise, and hitting the gym while the world sleeps. It means looking in the mirror and deciding, every single day, to walk the hard path that will carve a sharper, stronger man out of you. Pleasure is the thief that dulls your blade. It's the slow poison that rots ambition from within. But purpose is the blacksmith's fire that forges you into a weapon, sharp, deadly, unstoppable. When you look back 10 years from now, you won't brag about the nights you sank into comfort. You won't remember the cheap thrills or the empty distractions. You'll remember the nights you pushed through hell, alone and unseen. The nights when pain tried to break you, but you stood firm, unyielding, relentless. That is what makes a man immortal in spirit. That is the fuel for greatness. So lock this truth deep inside. Burn it into your bones. When the world screams for your weakness, you answer with iron will. Purpose over pleasure, every single damn time. It's the only path to becoming the kind of man who doesn't just survive life, but conquers it. Drop this in the comments. Purpose over pleasure, always. Let it be the anthem that wakes you when comfort tries to lull you back to sleep. These 8 Stoic laws aren't just words or empty philosophies. They are ruthless war cries carved from the trenches of life's hardest battles. They are raw, brutal commands that tear through the noise of modern distraction and demand you stand naked, unflinching, in the face of chaos. This isn't for the faint-hearted or the comfortable. It's for the warrior in the shadows who refuses to break. For the man who chooses pain over ease, struggle over surrender, and discipline over instant gratification. These laws are the blueprint for becoming truly unstoppable, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually and emotionally. They strip away the illusions you've been fed and expose the raw, unfiltered path to unbreakable strength. You want to rise above the noise? To crush your ego until it's dust? To master your reactions like a god commanding storms? Then bleed for discipline like your life depends on it, because it does. Starve every whisper of weakness. Harness your fury, your silence, your solitude. Live by rules that most men ignore or fear. You will be misunderstood, labeled cold, distant, unyielding, but that is the price of greatness. This is the path carved by the Stoics before us, a path where softness dies and warriors are born, a path where the unbreakable are forged, tempered by fire and sharpened by relentless self-mastery. So, I want you to lock this deep in your bones and echo it with everything you have. Like this video if you're ready to stand taller than ever before. Comment your personal affirmations, your promises to yourself in the face of a world that wants you weak. Share this with someone who needs to hear this savage truth, because the fight is bigger than just you. And subscribe if you're ready to walk this path daily, sharpening your mind and soul with every step. Stay sharp, stay grounded, and remember, the calm you seek is not out there in the chaos. It's forged in the silent storms inside you, and I'll see you there, stronger, unshakable, unstoppable,